Alright, hello everyone and welcome to another replay review. This one is going to be a Dazzle replay review. I know we recently did a Wyvern support review, then a Kunkka support review, and now we're going to be doing a Dazzle support review. And this one's played by DotP regular Hatakemaara. And this is a party ranked game with their 5-stack, with some members of various DotP teams. She asked me to go over she asked me to go over the whole game. But specifically what we're going to be talking about is wasted time and what to do in the interim. So when you support, there are some obvious things to do, you know, stack, pull, ward, stuff like that, but managing what to do in the off time is important, and being efficient can take a lot of effort, and it's not, I'm trying to think of the word to use, it's not very intuitive, because as a support, you feel like your job is to back people up, right? And at a core level, it is to back people up. But on the same, at the same time, there are times where, when you're supporting, you think you're backing people up, but really you're not doing anything productive. So it's all about opportunity cost. All right, well, that's annoying. It's all about opportunity cost. So you got to think like, especially as a support where you're like really in demand in the early to mid game, you got to think, is it worth it for me to be sitting top while my carry is farming if he's not being pressured by the offlane, or should I be switching to the offlane where my offlane is having a tough time? Or, depending on the support you pick, should I be ganking mid? Stuff like that is really important to think about, and not always an easy decision. A lot of times it's a hard decision. You think, hey, we're losing mid. If I go mid, we can win mid. But at the same time, if I go mid, we might lose top. And you got to really pick your battles. Alright, so Mara did a pretty standard opening. Alright, we have a DC. She did a pretty standard opening. Observer Ward, Double Clarity, Triple Tango, Salve. Did she buy this? Owned by... Okay, no. So she bought the wards and then a bunch of regen, that's fine. She bought a lot of regen. The offlane appears to be... an offlane duo with like a jug? I mean, one would assume, oh, well, they have 3 greedy cores, so I guess it would be like jug CM. Yeah, probably jug CM, because that's like a classic combo. In the offlane, OD mid, and Ember Spirit Bat Rider bottom, I guess. Maybe Battle like switch to jungling. Anyway, and then they have pretty obvious dual lane top, roaming Bane, offlane Tusk, and a mid Alk, which mid Alk pretty decent right now. By the time this is out, the 6.86 might come out, but as of right now, Alk is pretty good in mid. People have been trying different builds with him, but we're not going to focus on that too much this game. So Dazzle's main goal, I mean, Dazzle as a support is incredibly strong right now. He is arguably the best support. I mean, I personally would say Winter Wyvern is the best support, but Dazzle, he's up there in like the top 3 supports, just because he makes you really play around him. Shallow Grave is a ridiculous ability that really impedes the way that you team fight as someone opposing a Dazzle, and it lets you get away with some dumb things as a Radiant team. And right now the armor meta is big. People are really big on minus armor and plus armor strats, and so when you have a strat like this, you have the minus armor from Alk, you have the minus armor from Dazzle, and then that's going to be paired with physical damage from Tusk, and, well, Slark damage. But yeah, and then obviously your additional armor is not going to help you much against OD, but it will help you against Ember, and it will help you a bit against Jug. So overall, armor drafts are really popular right now for good reason. We see that a lot at the end of meta, at the end of patches, is people go with the things that are just always good, right? They go with the armor drafts, they go with the like big push drafts, stuff like that. And that's really what we see in this game. Dazzle fits really well with that. Shadow Wave, of course, is an incredibly strong ability. I play a ton of Dazzle, to be fair. I'm quite the Dazzle fanboy. Alright. So, in here we see they're running a pretty like annoying offlane, but nothing hugely consequential. This is a good lane ward, and she's pretty successfully zoning him. She's aware, you know, they're running a melee off lane, so if you're a dazzle, you can just punch him. And until his CM comes to lane, he can't really contest you that much. But the hazard of when you're in a duel like this and your Bane is roaming, if you are hassling him, if you're just trying to zone him, you have to be aware that, hey, by zoning, I'm not stacking, I'm not pulling. So now she's going to pull, and I assume pull through. And Slark's pretty weak in lane in general. I mean, he can be aggressive, he can trade well with certain off lanes, but generally, yeah, okay. So here's a little something we think about when we think about efficiency. She will make this pull through, yeah. Okay. When you think about efficiency, one of the big things, oh, she just barely missed it. She could have killed that creep a little earlier. That's no big deal, though. Not a big deal. Okay. So when you're going to be pulling, one of the big deciders in, hey, should I pull or should I not pull, is always, can my carry like tank creeps under tower? And Slark can. Slark is a poor man's shield. He's pretty fine under the tower. He can tank those creep hits. Obviously, we have to damage block against creeps, and it's going to block a lot of damage. He'll be fine. Other carries, however, cannot do that. So, like, for instance, I was supporting a Wind Ranger safe lane, which admittedly is very weird, earlier today. And when I pulled, she almost died, because ranged heroes, they can't efficiently carry stout shields. And so something I was not thinking about, and I messed up her lane temporarily. Another good example that you'll see more often is like a Drow Ranger. When you have a Drow Ranger in lane, she's pretty weak. Alright, see, that was smart. One of the cardinal rules that, one of the things that I learned when I was first learning Dota is the idea that if you have mana regen, it may as well be regenning. Right, so there's no point in having 1.3 passive regen if you were just going to be like sitting on it. You know, if you have full mana, that's a whole stat that's not working for you. Oh, this is a really bad fight. Hopefully they don't take it. Oh gosh, they're gonna take it. If Jug was smart. Alright, Jug's not smart. He could have turned that pretty easily. Okay, this is going alright. They'll pull in fine. But yeah, using your mana, on one level, like, it's important to always have mana to do stuff. But on another level, you shouldn't be too wary about using mana. And so that was fine. That was good. See him eager to get back in lane. So when you're harassing someone out of lane, you have to think like you got to think about creep aggro and in turn creep equilibrium. So like when she tried to harass that person there, she took a bunch of creeps. She took like 3 creeps. She took a bunch of damage, and then she had to use more mana to Shadow Wave. So now if a fight starts, she can only use one or the other. She can't use both. So those little things that add up, and I mean that's fine in the grand scheme of things. But see, she hit him once, but 3 creeps all hit her once. So those are the trades that you really got to think about. Is this worth it? Is it not worth it? And in that case, I would say it's not worth it. You get 1 punch on a Juggernaut who has a whole bunch of armor and a stout shield. She probably did 10, 15 damage that he's just going to regen. He has 3 tangos left. Whereas she, I mean, she does also have tangos, but she took a bunch of creep hits that she didn't really get anything from. Alc's doing quite well. Fortunately, Alchemist, because of his ult, does not need many rotations. Unless the enemy team is running some kind of aggressive minus armor strat. You know, if they like a Vengeful Spirit ganking or something. So yeah, everything's gone pretty fine for now. I mean, right now, this is kind of wasted time, right? So she's just like hanging out, and Slark's not getting XP. We see no stacks in the jungle. When you have, oh, we see 1 stack. Okay, 1 stack. And then this one was formerly stacked. Okay, so when you have, I mean, the current meta, and of course a lot of these things may be completely invalidated by the next patch when this may come out like a day before the patch or on the patch day. But the basic ideas are still going to stick with it. Okay, that was a good idea. Right now she should be selling one of her clarities, or really more like using a branch and then selling branches so that she can have a TP in case they try to kill her safe lane or her off lane. Carrying a TP is very important. I mean, everybody knows like, hey, carry TPs in the mid game, but carrying TPs in the early game is really big because I mean, especially on a support, right? So like, if Slark had a TP on him, he's not gonna do much. If he TPs bottom, sure he may get them to leave Tusk, but then he's gonna miss out on a bunch of CS. But if Mara on the Dazzle or the Bane, who was played by Exley, I believe, TPs, then it's totally fine. And then it's just like, alright, even if you get nothing out of it, hey, we saved Tusk's life, and she wasn't CSing anyway, so there's no big loss. Okay, alright. So that was a quick little nuke. Alright, that was completely unnecessary. On Dazzle, so there's a fine line between being overly cautious and being appropriately cautious, right, with Shallow Grave. So in certain instances that would be fine. He had like 200 to 300 health when she Shallow Graved him. But they don't have like hard nukes, right? So CM has Crystal Nova, 100 damage before before 25% magic resist. So 75 damage. Jug has Blade Fury, but that was already down. So really, the Shallow Grave was kind of a waste of mana. That said, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry certain times, so it's not the worst thing in the world. And it's not like she used it then and then didn't have it up later. Nameless may die here if this is good. Oh no. Saved by the bell. Okay, alright. So now we see both these clarities paying off. She has all this extra money, but there are... Barfing is doing quite well. Excuse me. I'm recording this late at night. Okay, alright. So Mara, again, having a TP would be a big deal right here. And we don't see any stacks in particular. Alright, that's some extra damage. See another Shallow Grave, completely unnecessary. That was a mistaken pounce, but that's fine. They'll be more than fine. Okay, alright. Barfing is doing really well. You got bounty runes. Exley, I'm not sure what he's doing over there, but you know, I like the idea. Okay, so they're having a really successful aggressive lane, so you can kind of you can't complain too much about some missed stacks because okay, that's rough. Alright, so yeah, I mean, if they're missing stacks, that's fine because they're winning their safe lane really hard. That's not a big deal. They're winning their mid lane pretty hard too. So it's not the worst thing in the world to be missing. I was gonna say they should both die to this Bat Rider here. Bat Rider needs to be putting another stack here. Alright, so back to Dazzle. So right now Dazzle is not being helpful. Right, so let's just rewind. Let's pause. Let's rewind. We probably don't need to, honestly. Okay, alright. So anyway, right now Dazzle is not accomplishing much, right? So both the supports are in mid. This Slark is way ahead of Juggernaut. Juggernaut's not even level 6. Slark has way more GPM than him, way more just everything, way more XP. He's just doing great. And they don't have a ton of kill potential here. I guess she can wait for 6, but really what I'm thinking is at this point, you're not accomplishing much in lane. She's just kind of hanging out and soaking XP. Get 6 and then go stack. Or get 6, run over and maybe push a tower or start ganking with like Bane Tusk. Something like that would be good to consider. But right now we have a lot of like wasted time. Really. There's not much being done. You know, she's literally running in circles right now. And that's, you know, she start, okay, alright, so let's, alright, so she has this warded. This does not block this. This is a good ward. Anything past this, like anything, like the box is kind of like there. This does not block, which is good, so she dewarded for with the potential for them to kill this. But she could be going over here and stacking. I mean, if we go back even further, let's see, 941, okay. 941 is when the creeps start going under here. She runs over here. She could get all the way to this camp. She has boots. She may have been able to get all the way to here. And when you have an alchemist on your team, what you want to do is you want to make not just a lot of stacked camps, but you want to make big stacks, right? So because he's going to be killing them primarily with his acid spray, which apparently he will need to come back with. But since he kills with the acid spray and he doesn't have a ton of mana regen, what you want to do is you want to have big stacks so that he can use one acid spray to kill, you know, a whole ton of stuff. And with an alchemist, you want to stack these middle camps because he gets most of the gold from Grievel's Greed, and these little satyrs do it. Although, to be fair, you also, like, centaurs are the worst thing for him to get. But if you get the trolls, that's a big deal. Wildkins are nice, stuff like that. So that's not a big deal. I mean, stacking big camps is generally always better. But alright, so the other big thing we're noticing right now is that, okay, Jekyll gets the easy kill. Hot is super dead. Honestly, there's not much she could have done. One thing to be aware of is when you are playing Dazzle is just to know when to just TP out. Right, so she can, in that case she really couldn't, but in other cases what you can do is, right, they're suicidal trying to fight this. Okay, that was just feeding. Okay, anyway, we're not gonna talk about that. That's not a big deal. That's just a bad decision, and the train of bad decisions. But the Dazzle specifically, what she could have done is, you know, just grave TP. What you gotta do is you gotta pay attention. Hey, has OD used Astral Imprisonment? Hey, has CM used Frostbite? Juggernaut can't cancel my TP. If Jug is ulting you, ever, like, you know, if she's just running around and Jug solo ult her, Jug thinks, hey, easy kill, I'm gonna kill the Dazzle. And he tries, he Blade Furies her, whatever. All she does, W, and then you hit your TP scroll hotkey twice, goes back to base. Totally safe. Even with level 1, I mean, it's always the same duration, but even with level 1 Shallow Grave, when it has a long cooldown, it's still worth it. Alright, so obviously, you know, that's kind of a moot point in that fight, but in other fights, hopefully she does it, but well, that remains to be seen. And that was just kind of a case of they were like in a bad position over here, so they were easily flanked. They had this ward, but it didn't seem like that showed it. Alright. Alright, so this is going to seem like overly simplistic, but you have, yeah, alright, she used mana boots. When you have mana boots, I mean, use them if they're off cooldown. It's, obviously she did, and that's good, but, you know, she could have used them 5 seconds ago, she would have hit all 4. Really, that's like the super nitpickiest thing in the world. I would not be concerned about that at all. This Bat Rider sucks. Okay, alright. Nameless, okay. Alright. Barfin having a bad time, but he's having a good time. You know, 13 minutes, he has Radiance and a bunch of money. Alright, so now is a good point for her to be warding, dewarding. Let's go back a little. When does she leave mid? Okay, alright. So, this mid fight happens. Let's just follow our noble Dazzle. Alright, so she has 2 wards on her. Sentry, Observer, good. That's, you know, that's... At the very least, you want to have that. Alright, that's a really annoying sound. Okay. So, she graves herself. That's a little early. Really, you didn't need to do that. Only grave yourself when you're actually getting gone on, right? You don't need to grave yourself at 100 HP. It's not like they have Alina who's going to just ult you and you're going to die. Honestly, what's it called? Ember Spirit should have just killed her. I have no clue why I didn't. I mean, he's a little low in mana, but... Okay, so she dewards, and then she rewards in the exact same place. This is dangerous. I mean, she rewards across the river, so maybe the person is going to sentry here. But generally, if you just deward a spot, you shouldn't reward on top of that spot. Like, maybe reward over there, and then they'll have to waste at least 2 sentries. Or ward over there, and then they're going to sentry here, and then they won't find it. Obviously, if you ward there, you don't get rune vision. You could also ward over here, but you already took this tower, so it's not as important. It's those little things that help in the ward wars. God, that's annoying to say. But overall, it's good. Like, you know, dewarding, knowing, hey, they have vision, or hey, they don't have vision now, stuff like that. Okay, alright. She's missing mana, she should be using Arcane Boots. And again, she's kind of walking around mid, which is pretty fine. She's setting up, she's saying, hey, they have 4 people here, or 3 people, and they're going to try to push. I should stop that from happening. So I will try my best to do that. So she's going to hang out back here. Dazzle, of course, does not have the best wave clear. One of the best ways to counter a Dazzle is just run a really hard push lineup, and that's going fine. Shadow Wave for CS is totally worth it. It's a really cheap ability, 110 mana. She has mana boots. It's a lot of value. And yeah, she's off to a good start though. I think overall, hero level wise, let's see, let's make this descending. Alright, so she's doing okay, all things considered. I personally like the 1-point poison touch. A lot of people don't level poison touch. It's really like a hotly contested skill point. I personally am of the opinion that Shadowgrave is one of the worst scaling abilities in the game. If you look at it, sure, you can use it more often, but really, I don't know. I find Poison Touch to be incredibly useful, and once you have met Arcane Boots, they're like, you can actually use it, right? So pre-Arcane Boots, you're going to have a lot of trouble with Poison Touch, because if you're using this, that's 100 mana. That's 110, and you're probably going to be using this at least twice during a fight. You want to always have mana for a Shallow Grave, and if you add on a Poison Touch, it's another 100 mana. So right now she has 926 with mana boots, so that's 100, and then let's say 300 more, 400, 440, and then we have none of this, 560, and then yeah, she'd still have mana for Poison Touch. But if she didn't have mana boots, then she wouldn't. But again, there are pro players I know. Puppy hates Poison Touch for whatever reason. Alright, Nameless Noob jumping way too far. This is pretty much suicide. Jekyll also feeling a little suicidal, but you know, to each their own. It's up to you. You gotta make your choices. It is what it is. That got dark quickly. Alright. They're being a little ballsy with their aggression. Dazzle, that was a good use of that. Okay, so she covers as few people as humanly possible with her weave. She could have weaved the enemies in addition to her Slark, but instead she gets a support and herself and an Ember Spirit, which, to be fair, Ember Spirit pretty easy to kill if he is missing out on some armor. Alright, Slark, let's see if he can get over. Oh gosh, alright, that was almost a really cool play, but then it wasn't. So now there's just 2 supports hanging out, and this support should die. Right, yeah, okay, so they got super out of position there. If we go back... Alright. Okay, so at this point, we just finished the fight here. The fight was here, and now we're moving. Jekyll is chasing this way, and then let's watch what our supports do. Dazzle starts chasing Jekyll. Jekyll is very hard to follow up with, because naturally just that Slark moves so fast. And now they're away from their damage dealer, and these 4 are converging on them. So you kind of got to run in unison or not at all, right? So they should have run with the Slark. If Slark can get something, then they follow him up, but they have no kill potential on their own, right? He has no ult. There's 4 of them. It's a Dazzle. Dazzle doesn't do damage without like a bunch of creeps, or you know, well, really without a bunch of creeps. All right. So just go ahead and mech this game. Mech's a good Dazzle item. Nothing against that. This is the perfect time for Tusk. Okay, he didn't ult the guy, but that's fine. This is the perfect time. Outworld Devour had like -7 armor. That's the perfect time for Tusk to go in. That's good. Although he didn't get the ult off because he was slow, but you know, whatever. No big deal. Alright. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this is kind of a personal choice thing. Personally, I think Poison Touch is good. But other people disagree with me, so whatever. Alright. Really overusing Nightmare, but whatever. Okay, that was good. Good by Dazzle. Nothing revolutionary. But, you know, Dazzle is a pretty defensive support, and he enables you to do a lot of things with aggressive heroes like Slark that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Oh god, Slark, please. That was not the best. They're having some big over-aggression problems. Dazzle went off, went away from that. It seems more like a miscommunication than anything else. Oh, she warded bottom. Okay, so I like this ward, this observer ward. This sentry ward, though, I would place it over here. If you place it over here, it gives you vision of this ward spot and this ward spot, and the river, right? So compared to this, which gives you vision of only this ward spot and the Roche pit. But this team does not have a Roche lineup, right? Jug, decent at Roche, but he did a Battle Fury build. Battle Fury build can't do Roche. Outworld Devourer, pretty at Roche. Ember Spirit, terrible at Roche. Bat Rider, good Roche control, bad at Roche though, killing him. Crystal Maiden, terrible at Roche. Borderline irrelevant. So, also, I mean, they don't have invis, so they wouldn't be invis in Roche. But anyway, yeah, the key to dewarding is to be covering multiple. It's efficiency, basically. You want to cover multiple ward spots with your dewards. That way, all right. So let's think hypothetically. Hypothetically, they have a ward here. You see them. You see this observer shows them ward here. You're paying attention. This sentry ward, you think complete waste. Sentry ward, you warded one spot, but you could have very easily warded both spots. It's the same rationale between what you did really well earlier, where this ward spot, people either ward here, or here, or here. And then some people ward here, but that's not the point. She put the sentry right here. This sentry spot right in the center, it covers this ward spot, it covers this ward spot, and it covers this ward spot. Perfect. Super efficient. Alright, so we see people dying, Mara healing people, OD falling out of the sky, replay bugs, gotta love them. Alright, so continuing on. Another thing you gotta think about is if you have a Slark on your team, it's really easy to deward because he can always tell you, hey, they have a ward in this vicinity. Alright. Easy kills. Alchemist getting super farmed. He's having a really good life. Okay, so Dazzle, I like this. Alright, so she is alone, but she's not the worst alone. You know, Dazzle is a pretty fine hero in general to be alone with. Especially when you have dumb people like this that just waste their abilities. Okay, so that's fine. Again, you got a little antsy. You really didn't need the shallow grave there. It's a little overly cautious, but in the grand scheme of things, not the biggest deal. Let's be honest. Okay. Really, like, this is a perfect example of if that was going poorly. You know, if that Jug wasn't a complete idiot and he had ulted her when she was alone. Right. So let's play this scenario back again. Let's pause it. All right. So I was about to point at the screen so that you could see. All right. So let's say that the Juggernaut was over here. Or rather, he was over there. Let's say this line of creeps wasn't coming. It's actually perfect, because this is what was happening when she was getting ganked. He arcs around. He could run into her, and then she's naturally going to be like, oh, alright, there's a Jug here. I better run. She didn't have a TP on her, which kind of invalidates this whole plan. But hypothetically, let's say she has a TP on her. She can run away. He's going to waste his ult or Blade Fury on her. All she has to do, Shallow Grave TP. Totally safe. Jug wastes all his mana, he wastes all his stuff, he doesn't farm for however long it took him to set up that gank. Everything's Gucci. But, you know, at the end of the day, the Jug was an idiot, so it worked out. Mech finish, 22 minutes, that's pretty good timing. That was a nice play by Bane, even though Barfing's gonna die anyway. Alright, that was a really good ult by Mara. She covered a ton of people that time. You know, other times we talked about how she covered very few people. That was a perfect one, where she covered a lot of people. Alright, Tusk, good hero. This is I like this team a lot. I think Slark's a little weak right now, but obviously Jekyll's playing it well, so it's working out. But this is a really like competitive, good team. Because you have, so Bane is an incredibly good support right now because he offers you a lot in the way of controlling the mid lane, and Alchemist is a pretty weak mid lane in a lot of matchups. So he compensates for Alchemist's weakness by being able to rotate to the mid lane, and Dazzle is a strong enough defensive support that you can have your support rotating around like a Bane or a Tusk to the mid lane while you solo support your Slark, who, thanks to some choice ganks and some nice plays and some really bad plays by the Radiant team, got a bunch of kills. So makes a lot of sense. Alright, so now what is happening? Her team pushing mid lane. They're pushing mid lane against 5 people. That said, they do know OD ult's not up, but they're a little low. Actually, they're not low at all. Okay, I thought Bane was missing a bunch of mana. But Bane does not have ult up, but they know that OD doesn't have ult up. Or at least they should. So everything's going fine. That said, she does kind of arc around. It's a little inefficient. She's low mana, but she's getting mana boosted up. God, this jug is awful. Okay, alright. Alright, so she was way too far up. Oh, that's an unfortunate snowball. Okay, so let's rewind this a little. Okay, alright. So Slark getting gone on. Dazzle, Bane, Tusk are all over here. Continue. Okay, alright. Slark is trying to get out, alright? He still has Pounce up, he still has Dark Pact up, and he still has Shadow Dance up, and he has Shadow Bladed. Alright? Now, Dust pops, they're gonna go back in. She Shadow Grave him already. He has half health, he is invisible. You don't need to Shadow Grave him at this point. And we know OD ult's not up. If OD goes on him, it's gonna take a little while. Alright, so at this point, distance-wise, they're a good amount of distance away from each other. You know, that's like 1,200 units. This OD can't possibly aggress on her, and she has a Tusk and a Bane behind her that can help her out. You know, Bane can Nightmare, Tusk can snowball her and pick her up. This is a really good position. Alright, so, continuing on. She goes all the way up to here, and now she's gonna die. Right, so let's actually go back 10 seconds and just watch that straightforward. Of course, game glitched. Okay. So, she Shadow Graves. Now she's going away. Now she goes forward. 2 forward. They have no vision up here. And now she's going to die. Right, so, she could have done all that supporting from back there. Oh, she's not going to die. She'll be fine. Okay, well. I suppose this was a moot point. But the idea is she didn't have vision, so it's a little unsafe. Okay, alright. But, I mean, the point holds, though, that the basic idea on Dazzle is that you're a defensive support, so you don't need to be in that front line. Right? She, at that point, was the farthest person up for her entire team. Tusk was far back, Bane was farther back, Slark was running away, and Alk was who knows where. Alright, so. She's a little low on mana. It's not the end of the world, but it's not the position you want to be in. But now she's practically full mana. That's the nice thing about having all these mana boots on your team. Generally, you won't see these many mana boots on a team. That was good Glimmer Cape usage. Alright, so Alk is super far ahead. They're doing really well, though. And Slark can do kind of reckless, I guess would be the word. But aggressive would be the nicer term. Maneuvers like that, where like he tries to get a go on somebody just by the virtue of having a Dazzle on his team. Alright, so Nameless, that was a great Shallow Grave. Nameless may die. Oh, he should be fine. Okay, alright. So this is the hazard of mech builds, and she was using a lot of shallow waves. Yeah, shadow waves. God, shallow grave, shadow wave. Okay, alright. It's late. She's using a lot of shadow waves to just push and kill a few creeps, but you gotta think, hey, we're about to push and I don't have a ton of mana, and during a fight I want to be able to use everything. So that's something to be aware of, but it's not the biggest deal, because realistically she's doing real well. Everybody's keeping high HP. See, that's good. And the GG, of course, by the Dire team, or Radiant team, rather. Okay, so, I mean, this looks like it's going to be a quick game. I don't know how much farther it's going to go. Chiz Greaves, that's good. There are some times where I'm trying to think of the way to word it, because Greaves are a really good item, don't get me wrong. But there are times when it's fine to just carry, like... So, like, earlier today, alright, so earlier today I played a Disruptor game. In that game, what I did was nobody else was going to build mech on my team, I was getting good farm, and I was like, alright, cool, I'll build a mech. But the difference between Greaves and mech is it's big, but it's not like a significant. So other times you might think like, hey, I have a mech, I have mana boots, but I really need a blink dagger, like my Disruptor game. I really needed to have a what was it? When did I build? Gosh, I had to build a Ghost Scepter. That's what it was. I was getting killed by a TA all the time. So I had to build Ghost Scepter, otherwise I just get blinked on and killed because we fed the TA. It was a long story. But the idea is that you don't necessarily need to go right into the leveling up of the Greaves if you don't. Pipe is it's a good item. This game, maybe a little, I don't know, a lot of the damage is just me from Ember Spirit Slights, which is physical damage, but it's fine. Would have been a good Solar Crest game. Solar Crest is a very common item you see on Dazzle. It's really like doubling down on armor. So what she could have done is she could have done Solar Crest, but overall I think this build is totally fine for this game. They were super aggressive, so it works well with building an item like Guardian Greaves that let you have sustained aggression. And she's having mana problems, so Guardian Greaves help that even more because they don't have mana cost for either of them. And mech mana cost is pretty significant. But yeah, so overall I think we're pretty content with this game. The roaming from Bane was nice. Dazzle play, I think we have to be a little more conscious of our mana. Warding, remember, warding efficiency. A ward like this ward was perfect. A ward like that ward, pretty inefficient. Overall, though, pretty content with how this went. Obviously, this was a bit of a stomp. Alchemist got really out of control. Mara did tell me this before, but the only reason the Alchemist was able to get out of control was because they won their safe lane so hard, and this enemy team didn't rotate on them. So that's good. Overall, a nice performance by all, and I think we saw the strength of Dazzle, right? It lets your teammates do things that they wouldn't be able to do if you had a different support. So if you're a Lion and your teammate does a stupid thing and like they get over aggressive, like when Tusk snowballed in, oh whoops, I closed that. When Tusk snowballed in to the Radiant tier 3 bottom, he was gonna die. Shadowgrave comes out, he gets out fine. So you can compensate for other people's kind of misplays, or if they get initiated on by a Batrider, Dazzle can just say, hey, you can't kill my friend, Shadowgrave. Bam. So stuff like that's what's important. Alright, so hopefully this was instructive, hopefully it was enjoyable, and hopefully I didn't ramble on too much because it is quite late at night. But I wanted to get this done because I felt bad postponing it over and over again. But yeah, so again, as usual, I have been Ursinity. You can tweet me at Ursinity. I would love to hear all about it. If you have match IDs you want me to review, I'd be more than happy to. Maybe even some core matches, because I've been doing, the last few have been support. Proud and I, of course, if 6.86 has not come out by the time that this video is out, I will definitely be doing a patch review with Proud, and of course, listen to the podcast, all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it.